Welcome, everybody. Enjoy the slideshow. We will get started here in about 1 minute as the slideshow goes on. All right, good evening, everybody. Hi, and hello to our large audience tonight. Probably the largest audience the Committee 100 has ever had, and we keep getting bigger each month. So maybe this new model might just do well right now. What do you think? Anyway, I'm Lynn Jewell, Chair of the Arlington's Committee 100, and it is my special privilege to welcome you to our June 10, 2020. It is Wednesday, isn't it? I know everybody forgets what day it is these days. Anyway, our June 10, 2020 video webinar. This is, of course, our new abnormal format right here, at least for now. We will all be changed with these encounters with the COVID, but we just don't know how yet. And of course, we're now involved in the national and international reform movements too, on top of everything. So here's looking at you through my computer window as you guys are all at your homes, your own special places. We have special greetings tonight, of course, to our speakers, Bob Cambridge, Susan Cunningham, and Takis Karantonis. And hi, Bob, Susan, and Takis. Hi, hi, hi. We're going to get back to you a little later. I have a little more work to do first. Like you, dear viewers, I am sitting here mostly at home, looking out my window too much of the time in the interest of social distancing and isolation. When will this pandemic be over, and what will we look like afterward? Good question. Maybe we'll ask the candidates that tonight. No, we won't ask them. Anyway, cocktail hours, as you well know, start a little bit earlier these days and last a little bit longer, but you know, I think you all know that already. And a few housekeeping announcements now. The Arlington Committee 100 has been a vital part of the Arlington since 1954, if you don't realize that. Long time, 65 years or something. We find ourselves adapting to these new times after the COVID assault, of course, and now the reform movement as well. But you can count on us. We are still doing our open and vigorous discussion of ideas involving the community life right here in Arlington, but in a nonpartisan and a polite way, I might add. And we're always looking for new members, of course, to join us in our monthly forums, where you can also join as a member and not just attend the webinars here. And with that little plug, our next meeting, though, is July 8th, and we will be commemorating the centennial of Arlington's 1920 renaming. And to help us with that will be Committee 100's own Charlie Clark, and you don't want to miss that. Now, there's lots of people who make these programs happen. First of all, Gary Laporte, who is our lead on this program. If you see him on the street, say hello. But you don't see him on the street because we're at home, right? Anyway, Jerry, stand up in your own home office there and take a bow to yourself. Thank you. Production assistants behind the scenes, Scott Pedowitz, my producer, Brian Marquin, director. They're all huddled in their own homes right beside me here now and on your screens together. Your social bartender is, of course, you. beverage of your own choice, compliments to you. Dinner selection and hors d'oeuvres as usual, prepared by you, or whatever grab and go you prefer. Okay, let's get started. As you know, due to the sad and unfortunate passing of Eric Gutschall, Arlington County is having a special election to fill the county board vacancy of Eric. This election will take place July 7th. And not very long from now, is it? And this is the Committee 100's candidate forum via Zoom webinar. You can get all the information you need about the Arlington elections from vote.arlingtonva.us or just Google something like Arlington VA elections. Okay. All right. Here's how the procedure will go this evening, folks. We'll have opening remarks, 2 minutes each, in order of the prior random draw that we just had before the program started. Then the candidates will ask each other a question, 1 minute, to respond each of the other two. Audience Q&A will be 2 minutes each, and those you can ask your questions right on your computer screen here, and I'll get them and sort through them. And then we're gonna have this lightning round of 20 seconds each. I'm gonna ask a question and all three get a chance to respond, but they only get 20 seconds. It's difficult to keep some people, I don't know about these three candidates, they're all gentle people, I think, to the time frames, but we're gonna do our best, right? And the closing remarks in the opposite order of the beginning remarks will be 2 minutes each. So Scott, I think, has queued up the slides for us. And the opening remarks, 2 minutes each. We'll start with Takis, and then we'll go to Susan, and then Bob. So Takis Garantonis, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Committee of 100 for having us tonight. I'm Takis Karantonis, and I'm running for County Board because I'm proud of what Arlington is, and I want to shape our future. I'm an immigrant. With my wife, Lida, we landed in Arlington in 2007. I speak 8 languages, and I'm part of the rich cultural mosaic of this community. I'm a planner and an economist. As a former executive director of CPRO, I worked with businesses, civic associations, and nonprofits to transform Columbia Pike. As a vice chair of the Alliance for Housing Solutions, I've been at the front lines of every effort to avoid displacement of young families and moderate and lower income Arlingtonians. As a former chair of Eco Action Arlington, I understand how growth needs to be balanced with environmental protections and nature preservation. As a member of the Public Transit Advisory Committee, I know how critical rescuing Metro is for our economy. I participated in the planning for the transformation of the Career Center. I know what it takes to meet rising student enrollment and support our public schools. Not only as a policy geek, but also as a former civic association president, I'm committed to serious planning and broad, meaningful public participation. I walk the walk, and I will continue walking it. COVID has revealed vulnerabilities and inequalities that must give us pause collectively. We all watched the video of George Floyd's murder. Thousands of Arlingtonians marched peacefully last Saturday. We pride ourselves for being a diverse and equitable and open community. And this is why this special election is not just about the deliverables of local governments. It is also about leadership and values, and about restoring trust in our government for all Arlingtonians without exception. So this is why I'm running, and I'm ready to serve. Thank you for having us tonight, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Takis. Susan Cunningham, you're next, please.
Terrific. I'm Susan Cunningham, and I'm running for County Board because I care deeply about Arlington. As a mother, a civic leader, a business owner, I know that Arlington needs what Arlington needs in these unparalleled times. We need efficient, effective government that stands by our side and supports us as we innovate and deliver new models of public health and schools, infrastructure, and business. I've loved Arlington since arriving here in 1995, a fresh college grad in a shared rental room in Crystal City. Then after I got back from Africa, where I taught renewable energy studies as a Fulbright scholar, I landed in the East Falls Church neighborhood, finally a room of my own, though still no window. And then in 2003, Philip and I, after being outbid in Alcova Heights, landed in our Donaldson Run home right near Ham Middle School, where we are currently juggling 2 careers, distance learning for 2 daughters, and keeping my 80-something father-in-law out of trouble, and vice versa. And this very fast campaign. Arlington's grown by more than 1/3 since I arrived here. It's now a $1.4 billion budget and nearly 250,000 diverse residents to serve. It's a big business that needs professional management. And as a board member, I will hit the ground running, bringing 25 years of experience across nonprofit, government, and business sectors, delivering change through crises and change. From my engineering degrees to advising governments worldwide, I've been trained to absorb new information quickly, to distill what matters most, and create solutions that get results. Yes, I'm a bit of a data nerd, but the real magic is bringing people together to grapple with facts and ideas and deliver the right solutions implemented well without breaking the bank. These are tough times, resources are tight, and our residents and businesses are struggling.
Time up.
I'm excited to bring my experience to the county board at this critical time. Thank you for your questions and hope to earn your vote.
Thank you, Susan. Bob, you're next.
I can't believe I'm muted now. Okay, I'm Bob Chambers. I'm an attorney. I've been in Arlington since 1982. Actually, I was here about 4 years before that. I was in the Army for 7 years. I was at CIA for 4 years. I have learned a lot in the last 60 years, which I think actually can make a difference. I've been struck by some of the issues that I was even looking at in high school, but in college, and certainly at CIA, where a lot of the questions were, how do we know what we know, and how do we handle the incredible complexity that we seem to be working ourselves into? One of the things I learned at CIA, and since I've seen it again and again and again, we've got people who are conservatives, we've got people who are liberals. They think very differently in many ways. They need each other. I see now a situation where there is an awful lot of conflict, an awful lot of distrust, an awful lot of just looking at the other guy and saying, he's different than me, he's wrong, he's bad. And that's not true. I invite you to look at my website, bobchambers.com, where at least I did put a few things in there that kind of point this out. And I won't address to that now, but frankly, both sides actually have a huge amount to contribute to the others. And right now, with the stress that we are under, particularly with COVID-19, but I think we've also seen it just in the political environment, we're going the wrong way. We're fighting each other. And that's really, really stupid, because each side has got a huge, critical contribution they can make to the other side. And we'd all be better off if we focused it that way. I saw this election as an opportunity to get a bully pulpit to pass on these ideas. I think that's very important. I do ask for your vote, but I also ask you to listen to the stuff I'm saying. Win or lose, if you gain something from the stuff I'm passing on, I think we all win. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, I'm going to move now into the candidates Q&A, which means in the same order, starting with Takis, you can ask a question and the other two get 1 minute to answer it. And Takis, sorry, you don't get to answer your own question. And anybody else. All right, Takis, go ahead. Unmute yourself, sir.
Yes, I did. Thank you. So I wanted to, so these are unprecedented times. We're running a very time-compressed campaign, a very time-compressed public process. It's a very stressful process. So I wanted to just humanize a little bit this conversation. And I would like to ask Susan and Bob, what is the most stressful element or the most gratifying element in this campaign as you are speaking with Arlingtonians and you are, getting your message around?
Susan, you get 1 minute.
Susan's
All right. I think the most stressful thing is managing all these Zoom calls from a 1950s Rambler with two very rambunctious children in the background. So I have to put my gymnast on hold because the gymnastics mat is right outside my bedroom door. So it's crowd control here at our home.
Bob, you can have a minute too to answer. Go ahead.
already. I mean, the most appreciated thing is just all the new people that I'm meeting. And there is a lot of interest, and I appreciate that very much, and a lot of good ideas out there. Dealing with just starting from a standing start and trying to get the word out there when we've had no one from the Republican Party on the county board for going on 40 years now, except for one in 1999. It's an uphill fight, and I'm probably looked at as, what are you doing this, dude? But I think it's important. I'm trying to get a word out. I appreciate very much the opportunity to do that, and thanks for having me today.
Okay, thank you. Susan, your turn. Ask a question. The other two get to answer. 1 minute.
All right. My question is about the streetcar. So both of you lived here during the time of great discussion and debate about the streetcar. One of you as a champion and one as a longtime taxpayer. I'm curious what you feel the county leadership and the county as a whole should take away from that process and what we should have learned.
My turn first?
Yes, that would be Takis asks. You can answer first. Yeah, it really doesn't matter.
Okay. Anyway, I mean, I wasn't happy about the kind of money that was spent on that planning and trying to put in a trolley car and $1 million bus stops and such. I see it as a symptom of a one-party system, which isn't listening nearly as much as I think we all would prefer that they listen. I know they've got a lot to do. I know that there's a limited amount of time in anyone's day. On the other hand, I'm not even going to say this was a terribly bad idea, but I think that when the ideas finally did come out, maybe it would have been planned slightly differently, maybe more successfully if they just listened to more people. That didn't happen. I regret that because the people who are interested in working and making this a better community should be appreciated. And frankly, I would like to see them have more successful results than we're getting. But with one party, I think we're hobbled, and that's unfortunate. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Oh, and Bob, your question now. No, Takis.
No, this Takis gets to answer.
That was all for me, this question. So next time, candidate, I have to get, I'm in the hot seat. I have to get a hot question. Yes, so that's 6 years ago. And this is, the voters have spoken. The message has been received, I think. I was one of the proponents. And the reason is, first, it was my job. And secondly, it was the fact that 18,000 people on Columbia Pike are boarding a bus system. That is one of the best performing bus system in Northern Virginia. But it is the best, but because there is a large demand. 1 out of 4 Arlingtonians lives along Columbia Pike. So I have been always a proponent of good public transportation that supports these jobs, that supports housing, that supports economic development. And whether we have a streetcar or not, the problem is that we have to invest. I was quite disappointed when those who, after that, we didn't have any improvement. We still don't get to Crystal City. It is still half an hour to get 3 miles down the pike. And this is just not working anymore. And I'm running for county board here to really bring substantial improvement in public transportation, rescue Metro, and improve our bus system. I'm a big proponent of the bus system.
I'm out. Okay, thanks, Bob. Susan, by the way, you stole one of my lightning round questions. So.
Of course.
I
Okay,
get
Bob.
dinged extra for that one.
Bob, your
And
turn.
I could cheat by saying, hey, Takis, do you still want to try to force in a trolley system? But I'm going to ask a somewhat broader question, I guess. The Orange Line is ridiculously crowded now. In fact, orange and blue come together at Roslyn, and it's ridiculous between Roslyn and Stadium Armory. What do you think it would make sense to get rid of that choke point that's down there between those two things? Because the metro system clearly is being overcrowded. Oh, by the way, we're going to be adding a whole bunch of people coming in from Dallas Airport and eventually Leesburg also. How would you handle that?
Susan.
Both Susan and Takis.
Yeah, Takis, go ahead.
So I mean, the Roslyn Tunnel is tremendously overcrowded. This is one of the critical problems of the metro system, and this is why the WMATA is right now working on the future. Now, the problem is that Arlington has a very big stake in how metro will evolve in the future. We pay about 27%, 30%, or roughly a third of the metro's budget, and we have a big stake. Our economy depends on how well metro works. We have been leading the charge on the Long Bridge improvements for VRE, and we will continue to do that. Now, this is really a future discussion, but I'm open for that. There is a plan to get this line through Columbia Pike and Falls Church, as you know, the extension of the Silver Line. I'm all for it.
Good, thank you. Susan.
Yeah, so the Orange Line in normal times, or what was once normal times, is definitely a crush. And there are a couple of structural reasons for that. One is when we built the metro, we failed to build a duplication of the tunnels. So we only have, and you saw this during the maintenance as it began the last couple of years, we only have the actual capacity we need to go under the river rather than any duplication. And so we can't switch tracks for maintenance or for when there's an accident. So I think in the very long term, that is something to relook at, whether it's over another bridge or it's underground. That is the chokehold, the choke point, no matter what. In the near term, though, I think we've done a fair bit of progress on rapid transit. I think on Columbia Pike, we need a great deal more work there to make sure that there's priority and that the lights are timed correctly. But buses do move people fairly effectively. I've always taken the 3Y into the city along the highway, and it is blissfully more pleasant than. And in this time of COVID, we actually have added capacity in the metro right now, so we have a little bit.
Thank you, Susan. All right. See, I told you Scott was a tough guy. Okay, we're going to move now into the audience Q&A, and this time you get 2 minutes, so that's nice. I look at myself and I see all my long hair. You know what that's from.
Hair.
Sitting at home all the time. Anyway, our first question, and the order this time will be Susan, Bob, and Takis. So in order of that, and 2 minutes each. The question is, and I've got it from several people, Charles and Craig, among others. What is your view on the proposed upzoning to create more middle-income housing in single-family zones? What is the future of single-family zoning in Arlington? Like the missing middle, some people talk about. I guess this is a density question, right? So, Susan, 2 minutes.
Sure. So about 87% of Arlington's land area right now is zoned single family housing. And that is certainly our tradition. Many of our neighborhoods are distinctly single family homes today. And yet we need space for more of our neighbors to land and to be able to live both early in their careers and lives and on through to aging in place. To do that, we need a diversity of housing options throughout the county. So I would support very selective surgical investment in density, and particularly along the corridors where we have retail corridors and transit corridors. That does not mean getting rid of single family homes that certainly are part of the neighborhood character for much of Arlington. And there are ways to insert, accessory dwelling units and other options so that folks can age in place, that they can have some flexibility around income and different bumps in their lives.
Okay. Bob.
Well, when I moved here, $100,000 was a lot for a house, and we're way past that now. It's so ridiculous. So I'm a little bit bothered by the notion, hey, we're going to upzone and we're going to make room for the middle class. I mean, it's all McMansions. It's all $1 million houses. I've got a neighbor who has a lot he'd like to subdivide right down the road on Markham Lane there. It was subdivided and 2 houses were built. It was a $600,000 house torn down to make 2 $1.2 million houses. And my neighbor is pretty upset because this politically connected person got the zoning variance. He did not. So there's that concern too. But McMansions are not going to solve our housing problem. I would support making housing available for people like firemen and policemen and people we need to have, and I don't want them commuting 4 hours and then working, carrying a gun, and being sleep deprived because it takes them that long to get here. So we do need to focus on this problem, and we do need to do something about it. I agree with Susan. The corridors make sense because there's transportation there. That's important. There are commercial retail outlets that are there, and you don't even need to have a car. With a good public transportation system, you can do very well. Great if we can achieve that, but I think that an awful lot has to be looked at, and I think that we need to bring the entire community into this one. Too often the board has simply decided how they're going to do it. They ask a few people, not a lot of people respond. We have got to start selling this stuff, and we have got to get the word out, and we have got to encourage people to give us their ideas. Generally, they tend to be free, but they're wonderful. They make a big difference. Not all the ideas are good ones. Ones that are well worth the effort. And that's why I am running, quite frankly. I want to see that process. I want to see that happen. I've seen it successful in business, and it can be successful here too.
Thanks, Bob. Takis, your response to this question. Take your mute
I'll
off.
mute myself first. So housing affordability, and I think this is a question about housing affordability and about the realization that we are in a market that is just too expensive. And it's too expensive because we are a supply-starved market. We don't have enough supply of housing of diverse housing forms at different price levels to satisfy the needs of Arlingtonians and actually the needs of our workforce and our economy. So this is a critical challenge for our community on the long term. So we have been hemorrhaging market rate affordable units for a very long time, for almost 20 years now. And the thinking about missing middle housing is one of the many tools in the toolbox that our community came up with to find ways besides corridor developments to add some supply where it's appropriate. So where it is served by transportation, where there is appropriate local retail, where we can provide services, etc. In order to know how this will work and how this fits properly, we have to be able to think about that and to plan about that. So this is why I'm very supportive of the Lee Highway Alliance's effort to do the study together with Arlington County and to do a pilot. We want to really know exactly how this will fit, how this housing will fit in the character of our neighborhoods. Remember that we are talking about human scale, really very gentle density, where it will serve our communities and our neighborhoods. We are not going to do nothing if we don't have all our community and all our neighborhoods in agreement with with our goals. So I'm supportive of doing the collaborative thing and testing that first.
Okay, thanks, Bob. I have to, of course, warn everybody, we're not going to get to every question. And there's just too many questions. They're just coming in hordes here. So, and that's a good thing. for our process here. The order we'll follow now is it's Bob, Takis, and Susan. Susan last this time. And the question is from Nancy and Sarah, different comments, where current conditions have negatively affected Arlington income. How would you prioritize spending given the county's limited budget? Where do you see the greatest opportunity to eliminate spending or reduce county spending in a sensible way?
Sensible. Wish me luck. Wish all of us luck, frankly, because our budget is
Yes.
badly strained right now. So I think that rather than saying, hey, I would put schools first, transportation second, and so on, I think that we are in a time where we have absolutely got to be flexible, and we've got to respond as our understanding of what our challenges are become more and more obvious. We do have a lot of city services that we frankly need. We all need electricity. We all need police. We all need the fire. We all need the transportation. That is the sinews, the muscles that make all this work. But wait a minute. I mean, this COVID-19 thing is maybe going to make things work differently. And how do all those issues integrate with this new reality? I don't know. We're going to learn as we go. And as a result, prioritizing is nice. You normally do that. But in the next year or so, I think we're going to have to learn to be very, very flexible and change more quickly. I do see where we get an idea, we start running with it, and 3 years later, we're still running with it. Even after reasons for not doing that, I'll take a cheap shot and say, like a trolley car, become obvious. And that was a cheap shot. I apologize, Takis, but you do have to change and respond to the challenges as they come. It's going to be an interesting period, a fascinating period, but a bit of scary too, because we really need to do things in a different way. Wish us luck. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Takis, how are we going to reduce spending in a sensible way? That's the question.
Yes. So, COVID is an unexpected stress on our budget, obviously. So citizens expect to have a government that reacts to such unexpected impacts. So when we had a similar, not exactly the same, but a similar situation of economic stress in Columbia Pike, I had to face a similar situation of economic uncertainty. So right now, we don't really know how important or how deep or broad the COVID economic impact will be. We can only speculate about that, but we don't know it exactly. So I can only tell you about my priorities on what I will focus first and where to spend. So people first. Social safety net expenditures are very important. They will need to be first priority. Food, housing, and employment. 5,000 families are on food assistance right now. In the region, we have lost 300,000 jobs. Then review our capital investment plans and prioritize the immediate needs in housing and transportation infrastructure, and identify investments that will leverage some external money. And then emphasize economic development, save our small businesses. I'm proposing to have a revolving microloan. This is money that comes back to the taxpayer because it's a loan, but helps our businesses, especially the small businesses, to stay on their feet and not fail. Rescue Metro and rescue the bus system, the public transportation system. All this is to support our economy immediately. We can do that. And then we will come out of this with a better base to decide how we will structure the county budget later. I'm an economist. I'm trained to do this. And I've done it many times in the private sector, also in the nonprofit sector. The best answer to the crisis right now is to focus on economic development, what will give us the vigorousness of rebound.
Thanks, Doug. And Susan, reducing county spending in a sensible way, prioritization. Thank you. Go ahead.
Great, thank you, Lynn. I think first of all, during COVID, there's no question that we must prioritize emergency needs for both our businesses and our residents. So housing, food, and making sure that people are safe from a health perspective. I think secondly, there are a lot of opportunities in our budget for improving our spending, not necessarily eliminating the spending, but in improving the implementation. Our projects take too long. Our community engagement process takes too long. We do not do lookbacks and full audits of our programs or our capital improvements. So there's a lot of room there to improve, and we should get accountable and focused on making sure that we are being fiscally responsible in each of those efforts. I think the third piece I would say is we need to manage the emergency needs near term, but we can't forget about long-term needs that we need to start on. One very important one is our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is aging and outdated. Climate change creates very significant challenges to that infrastructure, particularly around stormwater and flood resilience. And we need to make sure that we're investing now to get to a world-class solution that's sustainable and supports a green Arlington.
Thanks. Okay, Susan, you're first up on this next question, and then Takis, and then Bob on this question. This question is a little bit different than the others, perhaps. And Marge wants to know, and she says, the General Assembly has approved collective bargaining for local public employees. If your employees seek this means of communication with the county manager and other administrators, will you approve it? Susan.
Sure. Yeah, I think collective bargaining is a tool that's been important throughout the history of our country. And I think right now in Arlington, though that possibility exists, there is significant trust and buy-in amongst most of our staff that prevents that from being necessary. But certainly, should our staff find that they are not getting the dialogue that they wish for and propose that, then I think I first would try to encourage the dialogue to convene and make sure that we are listening to one another and moving forward. But absolutely, they have the right to do it legally, and if that's their preference, then I see no other way than to support them.
Thanks, Susan. And Takis?
Absolutely. The answer is yes. I have been very supportive of our Virginia delegation, of our county delegation in Richmond when they supported this measure. And I think that our county staff can be an excellent partner. I see that as a new level of partnership with our employees so that we can together approach the responsibility that we all have to manage the county as good as we can, to improve our processes, to have always a valid interlocutor and look at all the issues that we have with running a large organization at Arlington County. I think that we have excellent personnel in Arlington. We should be very, very proud of the quality of the public servants that we have in our county. As a civic activist, as a civic association president, with all the plus and minuses, all the little frictions that we may have had, the bottom line is that the experience of working with our county employees has always been an excellent one. And if I have to compare it with others that I've had as well, this is really a very high level. So the ability for them to have collective bargaining and collective contracts, I think will improve greatly the quality of the relationship between government and its employees. So this is why I support that, and I'm looking forward to be at the front lines of shaping this relationship and partnership with our county's public servants.
Thanks, Takis. And Bob, same question about collective bargaining. Are you turned on, Bob? Oh, Bob.
Hi, for some reason, this is,
Oh, there you are.
I'm not sure why.
Oh, you're a little dark there, Bob. Turn the light on.
Well, I'm not even sure what's going on here. Hang on, I'll turn the light on.
Oh, while he's doing that, I got a little text message here saying if Takis would, if you could
It
bring
froze
your
for some reason.
microphone slightly closer.
I am going to give an answer somewhat different than the other two, though. And I'm going to give you an unambiguous maybe. I was asked these same questions by the firefighters, and I got to say, the union representatives who do the negotiating are required to do their best for their members, and they can't be complained about when they do. But I was also stunned to find out that the firefighters have a defined benefit plan, meaning I don't care what you put in, you're going to guarantee what you're going to take back out. I have seen so many companies and so many jurisdictions that have defined benefit plans, and they are now unfunded obligations, and we even get municipal bankruptcies. So as I told the firefighters, if I could if there was something that could be put in place to avoid that danger, and frankly, the other side of the table and the problems that they are running into and the constraints that are there and the realities of the budget, which are there, if that's known to both sides, I would expect them to maybe back off a little bit on either side and do a better job. I mean, why would a municipal employee just give everything up? Well, because every one of those union members is a voter. And oh, by the way, the problems are going to occur many years after I'm retired. So why do I care? We should care. As I told the firefighters, if it's a choice between collective bargaining and their financial future, I'm going to vote for the financial future. I can think of nothing more unfair than some firefighter who worked 30, 40 decades to earn a retirement and then have it taken away because there was just no planning, no thought, and they were kicking the can down the road, and suddenly we have unfunded liabilities that we cannot meet. That's wrong. So if it could be done, and if we can put things in place that'll avoid the problems that other jurisdictions have had, yeah, I wouldn't stop that. But I would absolutely want that process to come that way. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, next question, and it will start with Takis, and then we'll go to Bob, and then we'll go back to Susan. The question is, Joan writes, Arlington is a good place for older Americans to age in place. What additional suggestions do you have to make Arlington even better for older persons to live? I know there's lots of us older persons watching this right now.
Yes, and I will be very soon an older person. I mean, sooner than I can believe that. So, so first of all, COVID has shown us how important it is to be able to safely age in place, as well as age in community. And how important it is to have a system in place to deliver services to our senior citizens. So let me start a little bit with seniors on fixed income and their housing needs. I do believe that we have to focus on making housing affordability a reality for our seniors on a fixed income. There are many right now who are also under a threat of displacement. So for me, this is an important priority, and I will focus a lot on this. Then I think that Arlington's existing programs that make it possible for people to stay up, to age in place and age in community have to continue. Nobody should ever be under pressure to lose their home because of financial pressure. This is a caring community. We will make every effort to avoid that they are displaced. Continue the policies that we have to support universal design, cross-age design in buildings, in public infrastructure, have all these things in place. So, and then support also our the social programs that the Parks and Recs department has. I know that we have a lot of demand for these programs, and sometimes they've been on the chopping block budget-wise. So this is something that I will try to sustain. Finally, I know that our senior population has also other issues, like for example, degenerative neurological disorders, etc. We have good programs that support families who have seniors and have to care for seniors like that. And I'm very supportive of this.
Bob, you're up, and thank you, Takis.
Okay. Well, as a member of that group, I do know something about what's going on there. One thing that that group does have is a lot of experience. And frankly, rather than suggest a bunch of pie in the sky options, I'm going to say, you know, we should be going out and asking, because there are a lot of, there's a lot of life experience that's out there, and there is things that have been done and have worked elsewhere, and that population knows about it and can tell us about it. So rather than saying, hey, we ought to do more of what I'll agree are quite good programs that we've already got, where are we going to find a place to improve? Ask the seniors, literally. They know what they need. They know what they've seen. They've seen a lot. I think that combination gets you some real mileage, and I think that's the way to go.
All right, thanks, Susan. Next, please. Aging in place, like me.
Yes, and sorry, we're having some technical challenges over here. Aging in place is by far the preference for all of us, frankly. We want to be connected to our communities. We want to stay in the neighborhoods that we've come to love and helped shape. We want to be close to our family and our communities. And I think Arlington is right now quite a good place to age in place. We're working through Arlington Neighborhood Village and other efforts to really keep folks connected, to be the bridge to support people staying in their home longer. As we talked about earlier, some housing diversity helps that. So having smaller units, single floor units that may look like single family homes, but have that flexibility for a caregiver to be nearby. Sometimes there's a green home where you have multiple higher need elders living together with a caretaker. So I think we can continue to push the envelope and get creative, but I think we're doing a pretty good job. My father-in-law lives here in Roslyn and is just thriving and enjoying the walkability, the liveliness, and the opportunities here in Arlington. I think one piece I would emphasize, and we're doing a lot of this as part of Arlington Community Core, is connections matter a lot. And our elders have a great deal to offer to our younger folks, to our families. So really working to stitch that together so that we are all in this together across all the life stages is important.
Good, thank you. Candidates, I want to congratulate you on the backgrounds that you have on your screens there. You know, we're all used to this now, and I know we all know how to do it better now, but you guys have done a real good job on your background, so thank you for that. Anyway, our next question, and everybody knew that this one was going to come, I suppose. Amazon. It's from Jim and Dave and others. Amazon's arrival in Arlington offers a tremendous opportunity for the county. How can we engage them to optimize the relationship for county residents? What specific questions would you think about for that? Oh, and I'm sorry, this would be Bob, Susan, and Takis order. Bob.
Well, you've gotten your question. Amazon does have quite an active effort out there in responding to community issues. I think that they see it as a corporate benefit, and I hope it is. And so posing your request that way is certainly going to get you more mileage. But just the fact that you're coming here is getting us an awful lot too. There will be more money that we need for a lot of these initiatives that would be nice, but we haven't had it yet. I think that it's important that we do a lot of dialogue with these people, simply because they are going to be a large part of our community, and because I guess from their point of view, if they're treating us well, they're going to look good as a corporate entity. That is important to them. I think we need to emphasize that leverage because it is there, and it's what every corporation I think does anyway. They are concerned about how they are perceived, and yes, we can use that. On the other hand, I think it's important that we be good neighbors and that we work with them because we want them happy here and we want them growing here. We don't want them starting headquarters 7, 8, 9, 10 elsewhere. They are a advantage to us and help jobs. That's huge. So I would support working with them rather than. I've had a couple questions about, hey, can we take advantage of them? Can we leverage this? Can we squeeze them? No, I don't think that that's good business. And so I would work with them.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, Susan, comments.
Yeah, I would pick up in a similar place that I think Amazon is coming and wants to be a good neighbor, and I think we need to enter into that with the assumption that both we want to be a good neighbor to Amazon and vice versa. I think the Livability 22202 framework has been a great example of the community, making that assumption, inviting Amazon in, and just going forward and talking with one another to come up with what are the priorities for the community. Don't make them guess, but invite them in and ask for their partnership. I think we've seen some great behavior and some investment during the COVID crisis for sure. We have lots of opportunities in our schools and in our elder community that Amazon can play an important role in. And infrastructure-wise, they by default will play an important role because of the level of development that they're doing. In particular on transportation, I think we can continue to work together, especially looking at the Pentagon City Metro and potentially examining a second entrance there to support the density of office that's expected there. But overall, I would just say, they're going to be here a long time. We're going to be here a long time. And so balancing that growth and livability is really important to all of us. And I think we can tackle it together.
Thanks, Susan. Takis? Amazon.
Amazon, yes. So HQ2 is here. It brings a lot of opportunity, it brings a lot of jobs. But we need also to focus on tackling the challenges. And this requires ongoing engagement and collaboration with all big corporations. Amazon is just one of many others. It's the biggest one right now. So I think that part of the job of the county board will be to build up this relationship and focus on really on impact and on impact on our housing market, on our infrastructure, and on the benefits that can be asked from this corporation, and shaping the collaboration with the neighborhoods. The 22202 livability framework is one opportunity, but also with other projects that we have and are critical for the economic development of the Richmond Highway corridor. I'm referring specifically on the VRE, on the renaissance of our commuter rail system. I see a lot of opportunities there. I do believe that a lot of work has to be done, and it's also planned to be done along the Richmond Highway itself. We want to create a completely new, vibrant corridor with a great ability to absorb housing and to be able to house in very good conditions the Amazonians and the future workers there. I do think that we have to think very carefully about the impacts on housing affordability and work with our big corporations to tackle them and ask them to be partners in this.
Okay, finish, Takis? Okay, thank you, and that finishes that question. I want to ask this next question, and we go back to, we've had 6 questions here, folks, that's a lot. And we'll go back to our original because we have exhausted the possibilities of our permutations here of the 3 people. So we'll go back to our original order, which is Takis, Susan, and Bob. And the question is, brought in by Colin. What are the candidates' positions on police reforms? Specifically, 1, do you support mandating wearing body cams? I guess cameras. Do you support implementing a civilian review board to investigate incidents of police misconduct? And if we've watched any of the media, we know this question is all over the place. All right, Takis, go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, the recent events are just a big reminder that all the above are necessary and they're overdue. So police body cams have been, it's a critical instrument, it's a critical tool. It helps, it keeps the community safer. It creates a culture of accountability, but it helps also our police force. We really value our police force in Arlington. We really trust them, but having solid, robust accountability procedures and the technology is really important. And it creates a better climate of public safety, also a more equitable climate, because a lot has happened. And I don't need to refer to the disturbing video from body cams in Alexandria a few days ago. The review board is, in my opinion, absolutely necessary today. It's not only to look after misconduct, is to overview how policing works, how justice and social justice is progressing in Arlington, whether our protocols are proper, whether policing is equitable. We have seen that we have problems there. We are no exception. And I believe that a robust public process and a robust way to oversee our law enforcement is a very good policy to have. Now, having said all this, the policies that will drive and will manage these processes are equally important. We have to focus to have the broadest possible representation of all strata, of all parts of Arlington society in this.
All right, thanks, Takis, for this important question. And Susan, go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's a very important question, and frankly, one that Arlington has been considering already. I think that while we all across the nation have a lot of work to do to continue to eradicate the systemic racism upon which our nation is built, Arlington has been a leader in training and focusing on disability rights, on mental health crises, on sort of specialization to make sure that when we send our police into situations that are wildly different from the Pentagon to a domestic violence situation, that they are trained to pivot and respond. That said, for sure, there's room for improvement here, just as there is in other places. Even though we are probably in the cream of the crop in terms of our performance, we can always do better. And so I would advocate for, first, very much keeping data and fact at the table. The body camera experiment has not proven out necessarily in a data perspective to make folks safer. So I think we need to continue to examine that. By all means, we had planned a pilot. I think we can go forward with a pilot. And if it makes everyone feel better, behave better, get better results, then absolutely let's do it. But I would remind us that George Floyd died at the hands of police officers who did have body cameras on their bodies, and it did not change the outcome. So just that caution. And then secondly, on this civilian review board, I think accountability is a huge and crucial part of government. So trust in government only comes with transparency and accountability. Arlington has had a tradition of engagement and accountability throughout its history. We have strayed a bit from that. Our FOIA requests are increasing drastically. Our commissions are not meeting right now during the the COVID crisis. And so I think we need to get back to transparency and accountability as a way of doing business on all things. Civilian Review Board is certainly one way to do that. Finally, schools and county have to collaborate on this issue. It is not just a police issue. It's all from kindergarten up.
Right, thanks, Susan. Bob? Thank you, Susan.
Real quick, a couple seconds. I noticed that Susan's the only one that gave specific responses to the prior two questions. Congratulations on that. We do have a good police force here. I'm a criminal defense attorney, have been in DC and Fairfax and here in Arlington. Some of my clients are innocent. I mean, I really want to see those body cameras. If they're not always on, if they're not always there, that's a problem. It can be fixed. But any information that can be brought out on the incident can be huge. Not just to prove my client guilty, but maybe to show my client, hey, we need to flee here. They've got you, dude. My client deserves to know exactly what the other side's got. And if the body cameras are there, that can make a huge difference, and both in my client's favor and against them. So yeah, I want the body cameras. As far as a review board, I am bothered by, there's nothing that's all good and all bad. And I am bothered by the fact that a review board necessarily suggests to a lot of officers who I know and respect that we don't trust you. So implementing that thing is actually a problem. I'm not against it, but I'm not wildly for it either. And I am really bothered by showing disrespect and a tendency to disbelieve people who've been really risking their lives to protect us. So I'm not going to give you a solid answer on that one. I don't think I know enough about what the options are and about how that can be properly sold to the police. And that's important to me too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next round will be Susan, Bob, and Takis in that order. And the question, we are running out of time, but we certainly have time for this question, and maybe depending on how erudite you guys get, we have another one. Anyway, this is from Caroline. How will we address equity issues in Arlington as pertaining to healthcare, housing, and she said policing also? Equity issues.
Yeah, so I think equity means different things to different folks. And so I think, first of all, we need to make sure we're defining equity and what we mean by the question, what we're looking for in each setting. And then, like I said before, data and fact should guide us. Our data elements, when you break them down by demographics, do tell the story. They tell the story of suspensions that begin in kindergarten for Black and brown children at a much higher rate than their representation in the general school population. They tell the story in our health characteristics, the COVID outcomes right now. More than 50% of our cases are in the Hispanic and Latino community, and that's only 15% of our population, so 50 and 15. That's significant. And the numbers tell us where we are doing okay and where we are not. We can use that to guide our efforts, guide our investments, and evaluate, frankly, our implementation of changes that we think will work, some of which will, some of which won't. But absolutely, equity and welcoming, inclusion for all, and supporting all of our residents to thrive here in Arlington is absolutely crucial to me.
Good, thank you, Susan. And let's see.
Oh.
Who's next? Yeah, Bob.
Okay. I'm going to disagree with Susan. I used to teach statistics over at the CIA, and frankly, the statistics that I'm seeing are not necessarily good statistics. My experience, particularly with my clients and just living in this area, the vast majority of people of color are law-abiding, are hardworking, are intelligent people. They're getting a very bad press in my mind, and it's very unfair. Now, there are economic differences, and they seem to have persisted for longer than they should have. I'm going to absolutely agree with that too. But we have not been effective at fully engaging those people who are probably the best positioned, the best understanding, the best able to do something about a very small percentage of the population that commit crimes that are, I guess, arguably antisocial, that have maybe mental health burdens. I've seen a ridiculous amount of that, way out of proportion to the population among my clients. Something's going on there, and what bothers me the most is it's a problem. And if you got to solve a problem, first you define the problem, and then you work on solving it. We haven't defined the problem. We are just assuming some things, and we're running with that when we don't have the data yet. But I know there are many, many very intelligent, very hardworking, very capable people of color. I've worked with them. I respect them, and frankly, we've got some. We can name a whole bunch of people right here in Arlington who've got responsible jobs and are doing a damn good job of it. So I think that there are some assumptions that are being made that are unfortunate. We've got to go after that. That is a problem Arlington has, as does the rest of the country. The good news is, if we address it properly, all the stuff that we need is there. I mean, we've got a pool of people who should be really, really good citizens. So thank you.
All right, Bob, thank you. And Takis, your thoughts?
Yes, this is a very big question to answer in 2 minutes. We have to have a very robust conversation in Arlington, a different conversation that we have had until now. I think the county board, and I commend the county board for that, has adopted an equity resolution just recently to address the racial disparities. I am all for it, but really we have to make progress in implementation. It has to become living practice in everyday governments, and not only the government. Every aspect of our society has to ask themselves, are we equitable? Are we letting in those who are right now out? I really believe that we have to make a collective effort to understand and to assume the responsibilities that we all have, including the nonprofits, including this organization, the Committee of 100. Are enough Hispanics there? Are enough people of color there? Are we representing all society every time, everywhere? So it's not only to be available and accessible for minorities and marginalized communities. We have to be very active about doing this. Restorative justice efforts, looking at our educational system, making sure that communities have access to resources, and first and foremost, respect. I saw today in the Sun Gazette, I believe, that the Green Valley Civic Association, the traditionally Black community, has been again circumvented by something, in a minor matter, but it was one after the other after the other. It was a routine thing for staff, but this hurts, and we have to stop that. We have to really change our ways on this. And my approach to that is to go there, to be available, to be really inside the problem. The numbers are great. We can measure a lot of things, but what matters is how people feel. And that's what we learned right now.
Thank you, Takis. Okay. And thank you all for that question and your responses. Now, my producer says that we will be going into our lightning round. So here it is, lightning round. That means we only have 10 minutes for this. This is not very long, but it's 20-second answers. And I will give the order of responses here. And the first question, and that will be Bob, Takis, and Susan. Question, what do you need to know to become an effective board member in 20 seconds or less?
Yeah, you need to know what the community wants, and you need to go out and ask them. You need to talk to them. You need to make yourself available so that they can expect, not only get a hold of you, but expect that you're going to reasonably listen and consider. That's what I'm running on. That I don't think that's being done with the one-party system we have. And I absolutely will listen, and I absolutely will consider, because I appreciate all the ideas that I get. I even shamelessly plagiarize them all the time because they're good. And okay, thank you.
Takis? You need to have a vision. You need to have a sturdy personality and be there for our citizens. Actually getting out and meeting everybody and being a listener. That's for me the most important thing. This is what I learned over the many years here in Arlington, to be a good listener.
Susan, what does it mean?
There's the lightning round. There's actual thunder and lightning happening. You're powerful then. I think what a board member needs to do is to listen well, understand the context, and then hold accountable the staff for implementing exceptionally well, learning as we go, and being fiscally responsible.
Okay, next order, it will be Susan, Takis, and Bob. Question, what is the number one issue you will focus on? Focus your efforts on?
That's easy. So short-term, COVID, long-term, and always schools and county collaboration. 47% of our budget, and we do not manage it together. It's absolutely critical that we get that right, operating and capital and quality.
Okay, go ahead, Takis.
Of course, COVID, people first. That's very important. Economic development, housing, schools, rescuing Metro, and the short-term and long-term capital improvement budget.
Okay. And Bob.
I'm Republican. I guess I'm required to say tax, although I agree with Takis that people are important, absolutely. But it is a time where we also have an opportunity. I mean, things are being kind of scrambled here. COVID is putting some pressure on us. We are going to be looking at better, different ways of doing things. I was told that 45% of our budget is automatically going to the schools, and yet our schools, for a cost per student higher than Fairfax County, doesn't get the equivalent grades. I don't know that that is actually a good statistic or not. But it needs to be looked at. Thank you.
Okay. Next, Takis, Bob, and Susan. In 20 seconds, what does defunding the police mean to you?
To me, defunding the police is not a realistic discussion that we can have right now. I think that this is a very big issue, but right now in Arlington, this is not a discussion that is a priority to have. We have had just a few minutes before very substantial discussion on how to improve oversight and accountability, and this is the number one priority right now.
Okay, Bob.
Won't happen if it's my choice. I mean, we need them. Can we do things better? Always, always. You can continually improve. I think that's what a guy named Deming taught the Japanese, and they beat us bloody for a while there because of it. Look at my webpage, bobcambridge.com, about that. So I'm not even, it appears to be a political ploy, and I'm not going to stonewall, but I'm sure not going to implement something that I think is as chaotic and disastrous as that suggests it'll be.
Okay, and Susan.
Yeah, I think defund the police is a cry for help, that recognizing that we are not putting our money and our priorities and our talents in the right places to get the outcomes that we want. So I think it really means use the right tool to get our outcomes, treat people well. It's not just about the police, it's about where we put money, where we put social workers, where we put our emphasis, and the police are part of that, but so are all of our other services.
All right, thank you. Now, Bob, Susan, and Takis. Easy one for you, maybe. What with all the current restrictions, what summer activities will you be participating in?
We've got a tandem bicycle. We were out there today. It's good exercise, and I see a lot of smiling faces. It's worth it. So that's what we do. We bike. We walk about 5 miles every day also. And this is a wonderful place to do it. I appreciate everything that the county has done with the bike trails, with the park, even with the roads.
Susan.
There's been a lot of talk of a slip and slide at our house. We're missing the pools and the time in the water. Has not yet happened, but there's definitely some discussion of anything to do with water, however we do it.
Takis.
Hiking down to Crystal City and having the first summer beer outside is something I crave.
That's right.
I hope, and with smiling faces of people in social distancing coming back, customers coming back to our small businesses. That's important. That's really gratifying.
Okay, couple more questions and then we have closing comments here. And this will be Takis, Susan, and Bob. And the question is, Is it time to consider adding more members to the Arlington County Board to foster diversity and potentially increase representation of certain communities? Increasing board members.
Who answers that first?
Takis?
Oh, this is Takis, Susan, and
Okay.
This is an interesting discussion to have. I don't believe that. I think that we have to make I don't believe that at this moment, but I'm open to discuss that if that for the future would bring something. I think that we have to really focus on making our Arlington way more equitable, more inclusive in the first place. So this is something that's a low-hanging fruit that we have to work hard to make happen first.
And Susan.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
It's not very long, is it?
I don't see the immediate need. I think the question of representation is really important. I think every single resident in Arlington should feel represented by the board. And I think we do miss that a bit in our current one-party monopoly. So that's why I'm proud to be running as the independent candidate.
Okay, Bob.
Comments like that are why I'm running, because you're someone who said, hey, I got an idea, and I had never thought of that. But I agree. I mean, a little more representation is a good thing. Now, I'm also familiar with committees that take forever to do anything, so I suspect there's a top limit there. But that's a good idea, and that deserves careful thought. And frankly, from a standing start here, I'd probably support that.
Okay, next question. And it will be Susan, Takis, and Bob. Oh, did I already? No, that's correct. So the question is, what steps would you take to increase Arlington's tree canopy?
Yeah, so Arlington's tree canopy is really struggling in some parts of the county, both because the age of some of the biggest trees and sort of where we've grown, but also because of our development and poor management of stormwater. So two things: one, get stormwater right, and two, maintain the trees in the public right-of-ways and the county facilities.
Okay, Takis, please.
The tree canopy in Arlington has been suffering, but has been recovering. We have to do a lot more on this. I think we have to incentivize the single-family homeowners to treat their trees better, to maintain their trees better, and of course, lead by example. Arlington County has to be doubled down on being very careful, especially when it comes to take down mature trees for any reason. We can always find better.
Okay, next question. I think this will be the last one, and this
Can I talk about trees?
Hey,
Sorry, Bob.
That one's near and dear to my heart because we are losing a lot of trees. The ivy is choking them. And frankly, I think a lot of homeowners don't realize that all I got to do is cut it at the base and it'll die and it'll go away and the tree will live. I see way too many trees that are dying that way. We plant trees on the verge by the roads, and then we salt the roads, and the salt splashes on the trees and they die. Pulled out, they're replaced. Those ones die, we pull them out, replace them both. We have been spending a lot of money on trees that die along Lee Highway, along a lot of the places where the plant them. It's just not big enough. We need to do better.
Okay, it is 8:20, and I can give you a yes or no question, or we'll go into the closing remarks. Let's do the closing remarks here. 2 minutes each. And we'll do the reverse order of how we started. And so it is Bob, and then Susan, and then Takis. And so you have 2 minutes for a closing remarks, please.
Well, I very much appreciate the opportunity to participate in this talk, and frankly, to hear my opponents, and he has a few good ideas. And so do the citizens, and that's what I'm running about. I want to encourage a lot of people to suggest options, because that's huge. That makes a big difference. We've had a one-party board for quite a while. They do tend to march to the same tune a lot, not totally. And hey, they've even done some good things. I'm not even going to pretend that this isn't a neat place to live, and they've been in charge of it for 40 years. But I have no doubt that it can be done a lot better, because I do see a lot of things that don't make sense. If you're a company and you ignore your clients, you soon go out of business. The government doesn't have that pressure, and that's unfortunate. And so they don't have to use the techniques that every corporation has to use, at least a large one nowadays, where you do have to get as many ideas as you can, even from the guy down there on the assembly line. Why? Because he knows what's going on precisely on that assembly line. And when he makes a suggestion, that could make a big difference. The Japanese ended up making better cars than we did, and they cost less. Almost drove GM and Ford out of business because they were following those techniques. We've learned to do that in business, and we need to do that in government. It's a sales job. We can do it. We got some very talented people in this county. We haven't harnessed them. We need to do that. And I asked for your vote, and I asked for you to look at my website, bobcambridge.com. Read some of that stuff. Please email me. I will listen, particularly, and I won't totally steal your ideas. I generally tend to try to give credit, but I can't guarantee it. But I think a discussion in this area could be huge, because we can do better, and frankly, we're in good shape. I mean, we've got a first-class county. We can do better than that. Great. So let's get on and do it. We have the opportunity. Things are a little bit different. Things will be shaken up. Those are opportunities to make good changes, but we need the ideas, we need the opinions, we need the foresight. You folks have got it. Thank you.
Susan, thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Great, thank you, Lynn. These are challenging times, and no doubt we've got lots of difficult decisions and probably a few surprises ahead. We need bold leadership to steer us through the COVID-19 storm. And I bring the executive experience to balance our long-term plans with thoughtful and effective implementation to bring the board, staff, residents, and businesses together to get things done for all of Arlington. Like Eric Gutschall, I'm a parent and civic leader, deeply committed to balancing our growth, housing needs, and schools. And while no one can fully replace him, I bring my own strengths and perspective, but I will work hard to live up to his legacy. I will bring context-informed results, not one-size-fits-all plans and rhetoric, to serve all of Arlington, as I have while leading the Ham Middle School Design Committee, the Stratford National Historic Site Interpretation Committee, and as a founding member of JFAC Joint Facilities Advisory Committee and the Lee Highway Alliance. I promise that in every discussion, I'll bring my critical eye and listen with fiscal responsibility always at the forefront. What's important? Can we afford it now? Can we afford it later? And where can we learn and improve to become more efficient and effective? In particular, I will prioritize accountability and transparency, a much improved school and county collaboration, looking at budgets, facilities, priorities, and outcomes during COVID and beyond. I'm confident that together we can find practical, fiscally responsible solutions that get results for all of Arlington without breaking the bank. Thank you to the Committee of 100 and to all of my competitors here for this opportunity to have a public dialogue. And to those watching at home, I ask for your vote on or before July 7th. I'm excited to serve you with my independent, practical, experienced leadership that Arlington needs right now. Stay safe, vote by here early in person.
Thanks.
Thank you. And my website's Susan for Arlington.
All right, Takis, you're up.
So 8 weeks ago, I would have never imagined that I would be doing this tonight. These have been very difficult months, and I'm here because I lost a dear friend, Eric Gutschall, with whom I shared many political beliefs, values, and a sharp focus on how critical it is to be a partner with Arlington's community and a good listener. Arlington is at a crossroads. COVID has battered our people and our economy. Our vision for the future is challenged. This is the moment where our democratic values of equality and inclusion matter the most. If we are going to be a place for fresh ideas, balanced solutions, respectful dialogue, social justice, government accountability, and good fiscal health, we need to commit. to bringing back these Arlingtonians to the table that are missing today. Our young professionals, our working families, our diverse immigrants communities, our African American neighbors, the tenant community, the aging neighbors, our many communities with disabilities, including those with mental health issues, our LGBTQ community, and our small business community. My commitment to broad citizen participation includes the voices of those who are not at the table for systemic, not only for administrative reasons. I have a deep love and investment in Arlington. My professional and volunteer work reflect my passion for issues and for good local governance and building our community. I'm bringing to the board the leadership, the expertise, the experience, and the proven ability to convene diverse communities so that we can emerge out of this challenging times together, stronger and more resilient. So again, I'm Takis Karantonis. I'm ready to lead, and I help to shape our future. I ask for your vote and your support on or before July 7th, the date of the special election. Thank you again, Committee of 100, and to my opponents for the opportunity to have this great conversation tonight.
Thank you, Takis, and thank you, everyone. You know, folks, this has been a delightful evening, at least for me, and for the 100 and more people who are still online watching us. And this is exactly what the Committee 100 stands for: vigorous discussion as we learn things. I haven't mentioned any of you yet, but I mean your political side. It's Bob Cambridge, Republican nominee, Susan Cunningham, Independent candidate, and Takis Karantonis, the Democratic nominee. So with that, I know it takes bold people to do what you're doing, and a lifetime of preparation in a way. And I truly appreciate that. And thank you so much for participating in our forum here. So good evening, everybody. Stay safe. See you next month, July 8th, Charlie Clark Show. There you go. And that is it. And so long, everybody, for now.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan and
Thank
Bob.
you.
Takis.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Bob.